Welcome to the Wild Show. My name is James Tyler.
I'm Sam Hall.
And we have our crazy producer.
I'm pretty crazy.
And we have today's guest, Martin from Mencap, who's going to tell us about a new project he's part of in a bit. But first, we are going to find out what everybody's been doing in the last week, also after the last podcast. What have you been doing in the last few weeks since the last podcast, Sam?
I haven't done much really, actually.
You haven't done much?
No, I haven't. Seven work again.
Have you been racing since the last podcast?
No, I haven't, but I've been helping Mum with her events, so I've been going to them.
What did you do this morning?
I went to the hospital this morning getting bloods done.
Getting bloods done? What does that mean?
Because they took blood out of my arm.
Why did they do that?
Because I got my operation on Tuesday.
I see.
And it's left a bruise there, and I said if it was me, I would have given them a bruising back. Okay, so last weekend I was watching all the warm-up games in the rugby before the World Cup starts, and Wales finally won their game.
We can talk about that later.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Is there anything you've been up to? Have you been doing anything interesting?
I've just been working really, and I became a voluntary transport champion for the West Wales Dream Team.
When did that happen?
That started on Tuesday.
Oh, okay, so you have been doing something.
Yeah. So I went and met up with a group that this podcast will meet eventually, called the Moore Group, which is people with learning disabilities being paid to be able to make artwork and then sell it at events.
That's similar to what Sam does with her rocks.
Yeah.
You finished a rock this week, didn't you?
Yes, that was for you. I had a goblin.
I got a little goblin on a rock.
Yeah.
Put up a picture of it. Whoa, look, there he is. He's flying around the screen. This will look really cool in the video vision.
That's pretty much what I've done since the last podcast.
God, nothing's been happening this week. You normally got stuff to blab about for ages. Martin, have you been up to anything interesting over the last couple of weeks?
A lot to do with my work, but on a personal note, obviously not a lot of people know me, so I will introduce myself later on, but my wife is expecting a baby, so we've been doing a lot of things around the house, getting stuff ready, organising bits and pieces, and yeah, I mean, other than that, like, I don't get to do a lot really, because with a small family you concentrate on them first. So
maybe that segues nicely into the guest segment then.
Yeah. Okay, so as I said, we got Martin here. He's promised to come and talk to us today before he has 4 weeks of banging headaches.
4 weeks of no sleep.
Yeah. So tell us about a project that you're working on with Mencap then.
Yeah, so basically I'll introduce myself as Martin O'Reilly, if you want my full name. As you can tell by my accent, I'm not local. I'm from Ireland originally.
And I'm not good at accents, and I said to you, what part of Wales are you from? And a few months ago, and then you went, I'm actually from Ireland.
Yeah, because to be fair, I didn't know whether you were joking or whether you were...
No, James has said before that he thinks I don't have a Welsh accent.
Yeah, well, you know, some people's accents are
like
subtle.
my dad is good at recognising accents. If Martin walked past my dad would pick up an Irish accent. Yeah.
Well, my accent has probably changed quite a bit. I've been over in Carmarthen since 2009. I moved over originally to study, so I did a degree up in Trinity St David's, a degree in PE teaching, and then after that I went to work. I decided not to continue I got my degree, but decided not to go into teaching. And instead I started working in learning disabilities as a support worker, basically as a PA, and really enjoyed it. And then after that I went to the NHS and worked there for 7 years in physiotherapy, which was difficult, but then I enjoyed the challenge, so I stuck with it for a few years. Wanted to change the scene again, and I've then joined Mencap. Last year I was working as a facilitator up until April this year, and then we have a new service, like James was saying. It's a preventative service brand new, and it's working in collaboration with loads of other groups around Carmarthenshire to try and produce a preventative service that stops people from basically going into a crisis situation. The Mencap being the learning disabilities branch of that. Our other partners are Age Cymru, Averiad, Mind, and Wallich, and we've got lead providers of NACRO and Pubble who help with housing and other issues as well. Like, so it's quite a lot of groups trying to come together and trying to create a service. We've only been around since April, so it's going to take quite a while to get settled and know what we're all doing, but you know, it's
When you
coming
say,
together.
sorry for interrupting, when you say preventative service, could you just explain a little bit more about what that means?
Yeah, a preventative service can mean anything that stops you from breaking down and going into a crisis. So an example would be, recently I've been helping a lady who's just moved from Pembrokeshire into Carmarthenshire. She has lost all her benefits, so needed a little bit of support with getting food. So I had to refer her to the food bank, so then she could get emergency food package put in place and then get in touch with the food bank. So that's going to prevent her basically from going into a crisis situation where she's got no food, and obviously she
It gets things sorted before.
Try and get things sorted
Yeah.
out. Yeah. You know, we all know that like there's a lot of pressure on a lot of services at the moment, social services especially, and if there's anything that we can put in place to stop people from relying on those services, it can take a little bit of pressure off them. If people have already hit crisis by that time, we're not the correct service, but that's not to say that we can't still direct people on to help them find that support, like, you know, and like I say, the Mencap side of that is dealing with learning disabilities and autism, and you know, like I say, if anybody got any questions, I don't think there's a wrong answer. You can try and find out, like, you know, if we can help, we will.
How did you get involved with Mencap?
Funnily enough, actually, I was, like I say, working for the NHS, and I had been there for 7 years. Quite stressful a lot of the time, especially through COVID times, and I needed to change my job. I was working 5 days a week. I'd had a little bit of, what would you call, I suppose, a mental health issue where I was just so stressed out I couldn't cope with work for long. Going back into the past, I worked in stroke, and my father had passed away. He'd had a stroke, and then I found it quite difficult to actually continue working in stroke, so I needed a change of scenery, and luckily enough, or coincidentally, I don't know how or why, but I was bringing my daughter to a baby group, and in that same baby group was one of the partners I now work with, Antonia, which you might have met. Some of you might have met Antonia. She does be here sometimes, and she was bringing her little boy to the same group, and through them chatting and hearing about a job that was coming up with Mencap that was 3 days a week previously, the facilitator role that I used to do, I applied for the role and got it. And I've worked, like I say, in support before with guys with learning disabilities, and I've really enjoyed it. And I thought, you know, that's something I'd like to take on and do, and because it's challenging, it's good. So so that was me. And then I was working 3 days a week, and then this new role has come out now, so I'm back to 5 days a week, which is fine. It just takes a bit of adjusting, but yeah, it's not a massive challenge like trying to create a brand new service. But yeah, it's exciting. That's it.
Do you have any more questions for her?
What is the goal for the future for Mencap?
I wouldn't. Well, for our service, I think our goal is to try and create the best service we have, basically. And I know it sounds corny, but you know, we've got a big challenge. We've got a lot of things that we have to pull together, different groups we have to get and you know, get around the table and have a chat with, and try and, like I say, creating a service that's never been done in Carmarthenshire before, and it's quite exciting. So for us, that's going to be that's our biggest challenge for the future, is creating that service, and how it's going to look. We have to start everything from fresh. We have to organise brand new paperwork. We have to organise how we're going to work together. get out there and talk to people. Eventually we'll have to create a citizen panel, which would be quite exciting, to get people's opinions, like, not just what we think people need. We want to find out what people are missing, what they need, like. So yeah, that's going to be probably a couple of years down the road, by the time we get it all together. But yeah, it's ambitious plan, I think.
Because some of your work colleagues come to the club on a Wednesday. They do because they have a table in front.
They do. Yeah, and that's about putting yourself out there, isn't it? And meeting people and finding out what they need. The processes of referrals, we can get referrals from anything, from word of mouth, from people. We're in the processes of creating our flyers, so that'll hopefully have a phone number on it and an email if people need to contact us. And it literally could be about anything. Like, if somebody with a learning disability, if they need advice on anything, come to us and we can try and answer it for them. Like I say, if they're already in crisis, we might not be the right team for them, but at least we can try and direct them to the right area and see what they need, so the guys go to the mix on a Wednesday. I go the odd time up to the Dog and Piano, so I aim to be there maybe once a month. Once we've got our flyers created, we'll be able to put it out there a bit more, and building up that network of people that we know, and people know us, that they can come to us. I think it's quite important to be able to meet people face to face.
It's just a way of making sure that people know you're a service that's available.
Yes.
Because that's going to be the challenge of anything at first, isn't it? Is people just won't know that it's a thing, that it exists, especially people with learning disabilities who would struggle to find information on their own. Yeah,
100%. And that's why we're in the process, like I say, of creating that flyer. There is a competition at the moment. It will end on the 18th of September, so depending on when this podcast goes out live. It's on Carmarthenshire People First Facebook page, to give you an idea of what we're looking for. We've worked with Barrod here to try and have it easy read, make it simple. We just want an information. Just all we need is the telephone number and an email that people can contact us and ask us, and then we can find out the answers for them. So if anybody's interested in designing a flyer and a picture for that flyer, have a look on the Facebook page on People's First. There's already kind of a rough design of what, through consultation with the guys in Barrod, what we're looking for. It's very exciting times. That's what we want. We want people that have learning disability and autism to be the ones that are directing how things look. Not our decision of how things look. It's the people's decision.
Right, so we're on to our next segment now, and
before we move on, is there anything you feel like you need to say about the service, or do you think you've said everything you need to?
Like I say, I think it's a brand new service, so it will take time. I think we all understand that we won't necessarily have all the answers, but through our network of different groups that we're working with, if we try, and they're looking for an open door policy, which basically means that no answer is wrong, no door is closed. So if you've got a query, come to us. If we don't have the answer, we'll try and cite somebody that does have the answer. And
did you say how people would access this service?
I mean, like I say, there's going to be a phone number. There is already a True Connect Carmarthenshire and their Connect Carmarthenshire website. There is a phone number, so we're in the process of deciding whether that phone number needs to go on to our flyer, or do we need to put on Mencap's hotline phone number. It's a little bit complicated, so we're still in the process of discussing that. And then we do also have our own email address. I didn't give the email address out actually for the competition. So like I say, the submission date is the 18th for the competition, and the email address, if you have a design for the flyer, send it to communitypartners@mencap.org.uk. So that's all one word, community partners with an S at the end, at mencap.org.uk. And it's trial and error how people are gonna meet us and how we're gonna help them. Like you say, some people will meet at like sort of mix that Sam says. Some other people will meet at events. our lead providers have referral forms, so they will filter stuff down to us if people get in contact with them. That's through their phone number, which I won't give out now because we don't know if we're actually going to be using it. And yeah, I think it's a work in progress. It'll take time. It's going to take 3 or 4 years or more to get a service that runs the way people want it to run.
It's a thing that needs to exist because a problem a lot of people run into, just from stuff I've heard, is they need help immediately or just to stop crisis from happening, like you were saying, but then to go through the official channels, it takes so long and they won't be priority until they're in crisis. So it's almost like people need to get to a point that they shouldn't be at to get the help that they need, which is not good. It shouldn't work like that. No, definitely not, like I say. And hopefully we can find that ground where we're meeting people's needs before they get to that crisis, and I mean, we're always open to suggestions of how people think it's going to be the best way to see them. I hot desk here in Command People's First on a Thursday. That's only once a week at the moment, but that could be more. I could be more flexible. We go out and meet people out to their houses if that helps for them. Meet them in public places, whatever way people want to connect with us, reach out, and as long as they're getting the support that they need, that's the main thing. Like how we achieve that will be probably different depending on the situation, but yeah. Right, now I think we're ready to move on.
Yeah. Thank you, Martin.
You're welcome.
So I was going to give Sam a film to watch this week. That's really good, but I forgot to give it to her.
What film was it going to be?
A film that's about 6-7 years old now, which is a Vincent van Gogh movie. And it's all his paintings been recreated by artists all over the world, made into a movie.
Oh, I think I've heard of what you're talking about.
And some of the characters in portraits have been created into the characters of the film.
Is it an animated movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it. I've never watched it though.
No, which is a really good one, and Sam says she hasn't seen it, but you can't beat that kind of film because it's really...
What can't you beat about it? What do you like about it?
How clever it is just to do paintings and then get live actors, and then they look like the character in the painting moving around different scenes that Vincent van Gogh painted.
So how did they do it? Was it all just animated, or did they have actors for some stuff?
They had to do paintings, and they had to take some paint away from the paintings sometimes because things needed to look like they were moving.
Like stop motion.
And lights were coming on and off.
Oh, so it's...
Yeah.
I'll have to look into it. This sounds interesting.
Like at the beginning, it shows you the Starry Night thing, goes over the hill, then it takes you to the yellow house, and there's a pub on the side of the yellow house, and it shows you two people like fighting outside. Is it like is it a short film, or is it like a proper film with a story and everything? It's like a 2-hour film, yeah. Okay. What is it? Does it have a story, or is it just? Yeah, it's a story. What the main character is looking for. His father used to be Vincent van Gogh's postman. Okay. And they haven't heard from Vincent van Gogh or his brother for a long time. So what happens is the postman sends his son to Paris, where Vincent van Gogh's brother was based. And then this painter says, well, you're not going to be able to deliver this letter to Theo van Gogh. And then he's like, why? Well, he died. And then he talks through that. And then he says, well, Aver is where Vincent van Gogh went. You need to talk to this dodgy policeman that used to look after him. Can't be too dodgy then. No. And then it's a really good film. Eventually they you're gonna spoil the ending? No. Maybe leave it there then. It sounds interesting. I haven't watched it that long, but they've recreated the scene, like the Yellow House, they created Starry Night. They've brought paintings in. They've brought pictures as a scene for the characters.
It sounds like they used Van Gogh's paintings as like a base for the art style, which is cool.
Yeah,
because his art is very interesting.
I've been to the Vincent van Gogh Museum. Excuse me, in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, how it started, I found out about him, is that I wanted to do drawing and stuff, and I joined the VC Gallery for a bit. And they said to me, before you can draw or paint anything, first of all, you need an artist that inspires you. Who inspired you? And I said, I don't really know any artist, but friends and all that.
Yeah.
I said, I just want to do what I can achieve. And they're like, write tons of books over there, get them out, find somebody that inspires you.
Van Gogh.
And then it was Van Gogh that inspired
Did you read through quite a few of them and he stuck out to you?
Yeah.
I think he's
I watched a documentary which was about the story of Vincent
He
van
had
Gogh.
a difficult life, hadn't he? Let's be fair.
Yeah.
That's what I think is interesting about him, because I think sometimes maybe people only appreciate or interpret his art through the lens of who he was as a person. But I think like his art is interesting in of itself. It's good.
Because I done some paintings of his, and also I got 2 books as well. No.
Which ones do you like?
Well, I like them all, but I paint. I'm trying to think which ones I paint now, but I have done a couple of his. So.
You'll have to go to his museum. Have you been to his museum?
I haven't, no.
There's one in.
One for the list.
Yeah.
There's one up in London, and also there's one in Amsterdam as well. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in Amsterdam. So I quite liked a lot of the art in there, but my favourite artist is Monet.
Yeah.
So I actually went to the art museum just to see the Monet there. Although I did quite like sunflowers as well, Van Gogh's sunflowers. That's quite a nice piece as well.
Because he's one of my favourite artists here, so I've been inspired by him.
Another artist that I really like now is Lowry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another one
He's
I
done
painted.
a lot of paintings of Manchester.
Yeah, he's very
Yeah.
They like stickman, so.
Yeah, it's usually working man's work. Isn't
Yeah.
It? Like, usually
Who's
like
this?
Like
Lowry.
Lowry.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
L.S. Lowry.
so it's usually houses and stuff like
But-
that. Isn't it? It's land scenery. isn't
but-
it, usually?
But I found out about him by working at the Talk Theatre, and there was this film called Miss Lowry and Son, and I thought it was just one of these crap movies that is not going to make any money. And then this lady came over to me and started singing this song, and then she was like, "Help me, love, try and sing the song." I was like, "Well, I don't know what you're singing about." And then when I saw the film,
Made sense. didn't
it was a film about Lowry. And then I realised it was about an artist that went through another artist that went through a hard time.
Yeah.
And what that inspired me to do was I needed to go to Salford at some point and see the museum.
Yeah, cool.
And then I actually went there last year, and I thought, this is a big building with a museum upstairs and downstairs. It was actually a cinema with a small little thing, but at the end of the film, it shows you this big building, and it makes it look like it's a massive museum, but it was only a small little bit in the corner.
And this is the one I painted of Lowry's. So.
Yes, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Like, I can't draw at all.
No, me neither.
It's just something I'm not capable of doing. My
My
wife can.
yeah.
She's
No.
a fantastic artist.
Yeah. I think it's interesting we've walked into talking about art in the
I
media
appreciate
subject.
it.
Well, it's a type of I don't know, it's art type of
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
It's a type of art and art and media. Kind
We've
of go
gone
hand in
from
hand.
we've gone from a film to actually talking about.
So have you
Different
ever
artists.
seen a Monet? No,
I
I would.
Wasn't-
Maybe I have.
wasn't-
You might have. Yeah, it's a very, very.
Wasn't Monet the work that Jack was doing in the film Titanic?
I don't
Didn't he say
know.
that
Well, Jack's not
Monet?
real, so
This
probably not.
would be a Monet. This would be a Monet. It's very colourful. It's usually,
right.
it's usually landscape. It's quite.
Yeah, they're really good.
Oh yeah, is it like a style or is it a specific?
Yeah, I mean it's
okay.
definitely a style. Like
But Vincent van Gogh, out of the ones I like, is the top.
He's your favourite one.
Yeah.
Anything else, Sam? Have you been consuming any media? Usually watching something on TV.
I'm trying to think what I've been watching this week because I've been watching the football.
Just the football.
Football's a media subject.
Kind of sports media.
But I have been watching the England team because they've been playing this week as well, and they're playing again tomorrow. But
That woman got stomped on. That's all I know about. That's the big drama. And she's now been banned for 2 games now. They lowered it from 3 to 2. So if they get to the final, she'll be able to play again. I don't know.
no, England are playing again tomorrow.
Yeah, but when you get a red card, you're banned for 3 games. But I think they lowered it to 2. So if England were to get to the final, she'll be able to play in that or something. That's what I
I'll check
saw,
later.
I'm unsure.
I'm a big fan of football.
James, you
myself.
said earlier that you'd seen some movies. Were you going to say you'd seen some movies in the Torch that you could talk about?
Yeah.
What have you been watching?
Right. So I saw a terrifying film last week called Insidious Red Door.
Okay.
Which it was when I looked at the advertisement, I thought it's going to be like a very creepy horror movie, but I thought but there's going to be nothing loud in it.
Nothing scares you.
jumpy.
No, films don't usually. No, I mean Halloween films don't even make me jump out my skin, but actually this film did.
Psychological thriller.
Yeah, it was like I was sitting.
Have you seen The Grudge?
I was like sitting down, and you got all the audience in there as well. And then he went into this MRI scanner, and all the lights went out. And then he's shouting to his the guy's shouting to a doctor, and he's got all these photo things in his head, in his head. This guy, and he thinks the doctor's been killed or left the room or whatever, and he just shouts, "Hello, hello, are you there?" and stuff. And then and then I saw these 2 eyes appearing behind him, and I went, "Ooh, okay." But then all of a sudden, it just went from that to a very big bang, and then you saw a skeleton face appear right behind him, and he jumped, and then I heard about half of the audience scream.
Like a primal fear, doesn't it? I think a lot of people don't like an MRI, that claustrophobic feeling of already being in that situation, and then the lights going out. Again, not a lot of people like the dark, and then it looked like this guy was creeping down towards him in there as well, and then he just let himself out, and then the doctor comes in the room and just goes, "Oh, you're what is up? Oh, you left me in the scanning machine. You have been sleeping for 15 minutes. You've been your RMI went really well." Like, okay.
He was dreaming.
Yeah, actually. Or was he? Creepy.
Do they reveal what's behind the red door?
Well, in the end,
No, he doesn't want to give it away. No, don't give
No.
it away.
Don't give it away.
There's going to be a spoiler. Don't give it.
I'm not going to watch it. But let's not spoil it for
Have
anyone.
you seen a film? And there's also a theatre show about the Woman in Black. You heard of that one?
oh yeah,
I heard of that, but what's the name's in it?
I haven't
From Harry
I
Potter.
haven't seen it. No.
It's quite creepy because in the theatre show of it, apparently I haven't experienced it, but somebody dresses as the Woman in Black and walks
That's
around
cool.
in the audience during the show. So it's dark. They keep the whole theatre dark, like
Oh,
so
right.
she could just pop up beside you, which would be quite scary.
Yeah. Then okay, what's the other film I've seen?
You were talking about it yesterday.
Barbie.
We went to see Barbie together as a podcast thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
But not that. We've got a different thing
No.
where we talk about that I haven't even started editing yet.
Ah, cool.
But you saw the other one.
Indiana Jones.
Have you seen that?
Yes.
Well, no,
What did
no
you think of
spoilers.
that?
I haven't seen it.
It's against, well, the next two films, which is Indiana Jones and another one, got the Nancys involved. This Indiana Jones, at the beginning, Harrison Ford looks like how he looked in the very first film at the beginning, and then they show you what he's like today then. And he's got the Nancys to trying to get hold of this big sharp swordy knife.
You talk about this on the film show that hasn't gone out yet, so you don't need to spend too much time on
No.
it. The other film you don't, though.
Okay, the other film I can't spell it properly.
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
Ah, okay, yes.
I saw that on Tuesday. Yeah.
What did you think?
It got really boring for me.
How long did it take you to get bored?
I understand it, but it was based on a true story. It's a bit confusing to understand the story, really.
What did you think of the film, then?
It was a bit hard to understand.
How long did it feel? Because it is a long movie. It's 3 hours long.
Well, I was told it was going to be 2.5 hours.
Well, they lied to you.
And,
Half an hour of trailers before the cinema starts.
No,
we all know
it's,
about that.
it's actually 5 minutes of trailers in the Torch.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
very
not
good.
like The View where you have to sit through half an hour of them.
No.
Yeah.
So you didn't think much of Oppenheimer then?
No.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's very good.
Well, lots of people seem to be making a big deal of going to see it. Friends of mine and all that. And I was just thinking the other night, what's the big fuss of this? Because I don't see any.
It's the new Christopher Nolan movie, and he's a very revered director.
Director with Cillian Murphy as well.
Yes. Well, the cast. I remember them announcing the cast like just after Tenet came out. Just very very stacked.
Unfortunately, I don't get to the cinema too often.
No.
I'm trying to remember the last film I've seen in the cinema. Oh, I know what it was. It was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's good.
Volume 3.
I enjoyed that. James didn't.
That was the last one, I think. Very emotional, wasn't it? It was
I
quite-
thought so.
Yeah.
I'm shocked they let them get away with some of the stuff in that
It
movie
was quite emotional.
with that rating.
Yeah. But it was good. Oh, and I also seen Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park.
Oh, they re-released it, did they?
They it's the 30th anniversary, isn't it? 30 years since it's been released. So I watched it in the Lyric Theatre for my birthday last month.
Yeah.
And it was quite interesting watching it. It was only £5 for the ticket.
You know that film rescued.
I do.
The
Yeah, so
lyric,
that's
don't
why.
you?
Yeah, that's literally why they had a rescreening of it. Because it was released obviously in 1993, and I know the kind of backstory to it that obviously they premiered it as well in the Lyric Theatre in Carmarthen.
Yeah.
Which saved the theatre, like you say.
And they were supposed to premiere it 15 minutes after the premiere in London.
Yes.
And they put the clock forward and went 15 minutes before the premiere.
Well, it's different time zones between London and Wales, isn't it?
Yeah.
But going back to it, it was quite nostalgic actually, because I was, and everybody can do the maths, I'm not worried about it. But I was 12 when that film came out, and I seen that in the cinema, and it was only the second film I've ever seen in the cinema when I was 12, because where I lived in Ireland it was quite rural, so we only got to the cinema once every couple of years. I'll tell you in a few minutes, because I know you're going to ask me what my first movie was. I will tell you what my first movie was. But in 1993 I went to go see Jurassic Park for my birthday. It was released in July on my birthday, and this one was the 30th anniversary, which was the same weekend again on my birthday. And the one that they screened in the Lyric was the same screening from 1993, so it had, you would have loved it if you're nostalgic about these things. It had the original trailers from the 90s.
Oh, that's really cool.
It was very cool, and I mean, if you could get a copy of it, it would be amazing.
What were the trailers?
The trailers were like Roundtree's one, and you're probably all too young for this, but there might be people that'll be on this that will hear it that are older It was the one where your man goes, "There's a moose loose about this hoose."
I've heard that before.
And that's the Roundtree's advert. And it was very 90s adverts. There was some of them quite a little bit risky, shall we say. They were a bit funny. And I can't remember off the top of my head the other ones, but they were very iconic ones from the 90s. And yeah, that was my my last film that I seen is Jurassic Park, actually, from 1993 in the cinema last month. The first film I seen in the cinema was in 1986, which is probably before some of you were born. Most of you.
Yeah, before.
1986, I think it was 1987, something like that. It was Superman 4.
Oh my god.
Which had Christopher Reeves as Superman, which was the original Superman.
Which one is Superman 4? Is that the one...
So if anybody can tell me what happens in Superman 4, I'd be amazed.
That's the one where there's like... Is he like Atomic Man or something?
Oh.
Or is that Superman 3?
Oh.
I think Superman 3 is the one where he throws the nukes into space because a kid writes him a letter, and then there's a comedian who's in it for most of it. Oh god, I think Superman 4 is the one where he fights like an evil Superman kind of guy.
So yes, 100% correct. Superman 4 is where they get a strand of Superman's hair because it's holding up a globe. I think it might be in the what's the newspaper called, the Daily Planet, isn't it? I think it's a strand of Superman's hair anyway. It's holding up a a massive weight, and they use it to clone him, Lex Luthor,
yeah.
Sorry,
Oh
Max
no,
Luthor.
it's his nephew, isn't it?
Nephew, maybe, yeah.
I think it's his nephew. Is the.
Anyway, they clone him, and yeah, it's Atomic Man, and then he's powered by the sun, but directly like solar powered nowadays. So it goes cloudy. So if he was in Wales, he probably wouldn't be very strong because it gets cloudy here all the time.
Superman is solar powered as well, though.
Superman is. Yeah, but he's not driven by solar. He gives him his strength. But
it gives him his strength. Yeah,
I think Atomic Man actually shuts down like when your battery stops charging.
Which one is the one with the big supercomputer? Is that the same movie? I know there's one that like he fights a computer at some point.
Yeah.
It's either 3 or 4 because those are the bad ones.
Oh yeah, 4 is terrible.
They're really bad.
But for a first film, like I suppose it's kind of iconic. But
it's a good film if you're a small tiny child.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I enjoyed it, but it just the cinema experience was quite exciting, like, you know.
What was your closest cinema when you lived in Ireland then?
It's probably about 7 miles away.
7 miles?
Yeah, 7 or 8 miles, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it was called the Apollo or something along that lines.
Oh, right.
And myself and my sister used to go, and when we went to, like I say, it wasn't very often, we used to get little bits of pocket money, which is probably only about £1 or £2 back then, and we used to pool our resources so we could buy as much sweets as possible inside in the because my sister's 5 years younger than me, so as much sweets as possible inside in the shop, like, which used to be quite fun, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know, getting your popcorn is part of the ritual, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I can't remember what my first ever film was, but I'm guessing it might have been The Phantom Menace, Star Wars.
1999.
How old would you have been then?
Probably about 5 or 6.
Okay.
Wow. Make me feel old. I also seen that in the cinema, but I wasn't 5 or 6 at the time.
No.
I was driving myself there.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think of The Phantom Menace, actually? Because I actually have quite a fondness to that film, because
I actually, out of the newer versions, I prefer the final one, The Revenge of the Sith.
I do like that one. That one's the dumbest Star Wars movie. It's just dumb. But I think it's enjoyable.
And then in the old ones, I like A New Hope. Yeah.
I wish there was an easy way, or like a remastered version of the original version of A New Hope, because they kind of butchered it. They added in a bunch of scenes that were cut for a reason.
Yeah.
I think of the new ones, the best one out there. And I only had this discussion with my wife last night, actually, randomly. We were talking about these things. I was saying that Rogue One is by far the best film of the new generation of Disney ones.
I've seen...
It's a prequel to A New Hope, isn't it?
I've seen all of the new ones.
It's bang in the middle of a Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope.
Yeah,
Because it's when they're
it's-
building the Death Star.
Yeah, it's basically about how the message gets into.
It's like in the middle of that
how it gets into R2D2,
handover,
basically. How they get the plans of the original Death Star. That's basically.
It probably is my favourite one, but I still don't think it's very good.
I liked all the characters, but what I particularly liked about the fact is that they actually killed off all the characters.
Spoilers, they all die. Spoilers.
Well,
for
spoilers for anybody.
Spoilers for a
watched it,
7-year-old movie.
No, but it needs to be. I think if you watched all the Star Wars, you should be able to predict what's going to happen in that sense, because they have to. If they would exist if they existed.
It's weird as well
After
because the Andor in that movie, he dies, but now his show is like one of the most
biggest ones.
popular things they've put out in a long time. It's one of the, I haven't seen it because I'm done with Star Wars.
I haven't seen it either, actually.
I'm done. I don't want any more.
I've stopped even watching The Mandalorian. I haven't finished that yet, but I'll go back to it eventually.
I watched Book of Boba Fett. I really liked Mandalorian season 2, and then I watched Book of Boba Fett, and it soured me on Star Wars forever. I was done, and then I heard Mandalorian season 3 was quite bad. So I'm not watching anymore. I might watch Andor years from now when I feel like when it's done and I know it's all good, then I'll watch it. Back to what you said before. I like the Phantom Menace as well, but I like it because I think it's the most pure George Lucas thing. In that, like, if he got to make a movie and he got to do everything he wanted to do, that's what he would make. Because the next 2 prequels were tainted by the fact that people hated the Phantom Menace.
I think people hate the Phantom Menace for 2 reasons, and only 2 reasons. Obviously, one of them is obviously Jar Jar Binks, right? Everybody can't get along with him. I actually don't find him that way.
He was my favourite character.
Yeah, I quite like him. Yeah, I think he's quite comic, but they need that kind of because it's a bit serious otherwise.
He reminds me of Max walking to work.
The other thing I think that people were a little bit disappointed with Phantom Menace is that again, it's a spoiler, I suppose, even though it's like 24 years old, this film, but that they killed Darth Maul because people quite liked him. They thought he was going to be a really, really, really good character.
Well, now we know they didn't, but that came about later on.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's good in that movie, though. He's just a guy. He just, like, flips around and stuff.
Yeah, but I think he's
cool when they bring him back.
Yeah, they wanted, I think they just wanted, they wanted that adversary, didn't they? They wanted somebody that was, because like Star Wars again, like, I mean, Darth Vader is just ominous. He's not really that scary, really. He's not really. He's just a big dark.
He's a good character though. Like, he has depth to him. The narrative through line of those movies ends up being his character arc, even though you don't really realize until the end.
He's a good guy. He's just.
Well, he's not a good guy, but he grows, which, like, the whole point of those first 3 movies, even the third one where it starts to become more about the ties, is that there's no such thing as good and evil, really. Everything has complexity to it, because Luke almost kills people a bunch of times. He does kill a couple of pig guys in the third one, definitely. But Darth Vader also does something good in the end, so it's muddy. The dark side and the light side are a scam.
I did like the Phantom Menace. I think I'd stick up for it.
Yeah.
I'd stick up for it. And it's got one of the coolest chase scenes with the pod race.
There's a lot of good scenes, but it
stands up well, actually. If you rewatch it now, like, they've probably done a little bit of remastering with it, but it actually still looks quite good, actually.
Yeah.
It hasn't aged too badly.
Attack of the
Clones.
Clones.
It's got Liam Neeson in it.
It does have Liam Neeson in it.
And then out of the newer version, my favourite was the Rise of Skywalker.
Is that the first one?
That's the third one.
That's the final one.
9.
Oh no, that was horrible.
I don't like any of them.
I mean, it was so predictable.
That one.
But what I don't like about the last 3, 7, 8 and 9, is that the spacey bits seem to be gone, don't they? It seems to be more earthy on land.
The second one was just a slow race.
That's true. No, there's a lot of space stuff in The Last Jedi.
It was just,
if that's what you're looking for.
It was just a slow race in space.
They're racing for the whole thing, and then people leave and go do little adventures, and then they come back and.
I think I could come back and talk about these films and how bad they are for 3 days.
I can talk about Star Wars a lot, but I always hate doing it because it just amounts to I don't like this. I don't want anything to do with this. It's just The Force Awakens is like. People say that one's, like, good. I disagree. Because if your entire movie is based on teasing things that are going to happen and then those things end up being disappointing, that's now a bad movie because you didn't deliver on any of what you set there.
They probably never should have shown the scene of the Millennium Falcon flying in the first place, because that's what everybody wanted, and then when they'd already seen it in the trailer, there was no more to watch.
Yeah, they showed Han Solo. It's just
I've got a thing about trailers. I don't know how you guys feel about trailers. I won't watch trailers.
I try to avoid them if it's something I know I'm going to see. I won't watch them.
I watch trailers to decide whether I'm going to see a film
and
or not.
that's the optimal idea of a trailer, isn't it? To see if you want to watch it. But I think they give away so many things.
Because somebody told me a little while ago in 2018 when The Greatest Showman came out, to me it sounded like it was a rubbish film. Lots of people were big about it, and then I went and looked at the trailer, and I thought, actually, I don't know, but it does actually look good, and it's got music in it. And then I said to a mate of mine, do you want to come with me tomorrow and see a film called The Greatest Showman? And then he said, yes, I'll do that. And he wasn't massively convinced before he went with me. And then we actually both felt we had a really good night when we watched it.
I quite like finding movies that you don't actually know anything about and watching them.
But this film, I saw it like 6 times, and I didn't get bored with it.
It's great music.
I've seen
it's very
it a couple
uplifting,
of times,
isn't it?
Because I went and saw it with a friend of mine. I saw it twice working. I saw it with my dad. I saw it with a few people.
It's on television now, isn't it? It's been on television a few times as well. So yeah.
So I got the DVD and the CD. I have.
Yeah.
It's good, very good music. Yeah, I gotta say.
I was disappointed by when I watched I loved it, the Spider-Man movie, the animated one that came out this year. I thought it was really good.
Yeah,
it really impressed me. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. But the trailers, everything in the trailers is from like the last half hour of the movie, because that's all the marketable stuff. It's like all the Spider-Man in their base. That doesn't happen until way into the second half.
I will watch it at some stage. It'll be on.
All of the stuff that surprised me was in the first half, because they didn't show much of that.
Me and my co-host here were chatting.
You're above the mic. You sound a bit fuzzy.
I'm sorry. We were chatting last night.
Yes.
And we were looking at all these silly filters you get on Messenger, and one of them, I pressed it, and it makes things happen to both of you, you and the person you're talking to.
Yeah, I'll send you the video later.
And I pressed on like a picture of Spider-Man, and our faces turned into Peter Parker's face.
Oh my god.
But you know, Spider-Man is my favourite character ever in the Marvel Universe. He's always been my favourite.
He's my favourite too. I think
he
is a perfect superhero.
If you ever get a chance, there's an animated TV show from the 90s of Spider-Man on Disney Plus.
People love that one.
And it is amazing. I watched it when it was coming out week after week, because I was a kid at that age, and it was amazing. It was brilliant. I wouldn't miss it, and now to be able to watch it back, it's just so nostalgic. But I don't know how everybody feels about the last Spider-Man movie that they did with all the different Spider-Mans in it. I thought it was the best Spider-Man movie.
I thought it was up
ever.
there. It's not my favourite is the new one, the one that came out this year, Across the Spider-Verse. I think James disagrees. I think it's like
it's fine.
It's interesting. I think my favourite Spider-Man story is the PS4 game. I think it's really, really good, and it's the best Spider-Man has been in a long time in anything, because they let him be in his mid-20s, and it hits all the beats for me. But I think the new movie was pretty good. It's up there. It's the best Tom Holland one.
Yes, it's definitely the best.
Homecoming is okay, but I'm not a fan of high school Spider-Man. Get him out of there as soon as possible.
The thing is, like, again, going back to my age, like Peter Parker for me was the Tobey Maguire Peter Parker, but
oh yeah, for me too.
He the weakest. Unfortunately, Sony was in charge of it, so it was the storylines.
Although the only one I remember coming out was 3, which is
those were Tobey Maguire. Those were the best Spider-Man films.
No. But Tobey Maguire nearly was the best Spider-Man for me, in terms of he was that.
Oh yeah, he is the best. I'm just saying.
But Tom Holland is very good.
I don't like all these new animated.
I don't know. But again, like, I mean, it's opening up a different direction, isn't it?
What's interesting about the new one is that it's the first one is like a movie about Spider-Man in general. Miles Morales is the main character, but Peter Parker is really important in it.
Yeah.
But the new one is like very much they use what Miles is as a character. Like the fact that Miles has only been around for about 10 years as a character is very important to the plot.
It's a bit like when Batman retires, shall we say, and then Robin takes over as
they've tried to retire Batman a bunch of times.
Yeah, no, and then they have a new Batman. You know, it's the same concept with Spider-Man. I mean, he's got to age, so they've got to move Peter Parker on, and they got to live with the times as well, haven't they? They got to change with the times. You got to have more diversity, which is
you got to have them looking.
Well, modern,
old.
isn't it?
I just think old Peter is not old Peter, but like Peter in like late 20s is just the best. He's because he's grown up and he's not annoying anymore. Because he's really annoying.
Oh, he's very.
It's fascinating going back to because I have read some of the original run, and it's fascinating just how mean he is. Like he's not just quippy; he's really mean. And I think he's only in high school for like 20 issues, and then he's in college, which is when all the interesting stuff happens. But yeah, I don't know. Spider-Man's great. I like Daredevil as well though.
Yeah, he's alright. Yeah, to be honest, I have to catch up with a lot of that stuff. I've missed out on a lot of the recent Marvel movies because I can't get to the cinema.
I just haven't been watching them because they're not good anymore. I watched Guardians of the Galaxy because I like James Gunn, but I did not watch that. I didn't watch that because it was a Marvel movie.
That's the thing with streaming, doesn't it? There's so much to watch, like, and you've only got a finite amount of time. It's very difficult to actually catch up with everything, like. You know?
They've been pretty vocal about how they think they've made too much stuff recently. That they've spread everything way too thin and everything's suffering because that Secret Invasion show that just came out, people have been lambasting.
Things are coming out very quickly, though, aren't they? Like 3 months after being in the cinema.
It's crazy. They're just making. It was cool at first. Because the first couple shows they did, I enjoyed, but then when the shows got bad because they were making too many of them and couldn't focus on any of them, then it was I stopped watching. There was too much stuff. There's no point following all of this. I'm not invested.
Will I tell you what I've started watching?
What have you started watching?
Only recently. There's a new season just come out. Brand new season. It hasn't aired for, I want to say, maybe 7-8 years. Maybe 6 years. It's animated. Anybody?
Futurama?
Hey!
I got it. Yeah.
Futurama I've just started rewatching season 1 of and I'm going to get to the new season eventually. Like, so, Futurama.
It never dies. It's been cancelled and revived like 4-5 times now.
It's been on loads of different networks. So yeah, we see how that goes. Yeah. So you can get me back maybe in about 6 months' time. We can critique Futurama if anybody's interested.
I thought this was going to be a shorter episode, but we've been talking for like nearly an hour now. So do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Not really.
You were going to talk about the sport.
No? Oh, you wanted to talk about the rugby.
Yeah,
the rugby.
Oh well,
the fact that Ireland is going to win the World Cup.
Wales will win the World Cup.
Well,
we've got Gatland back.
Yeah, they're doing well.
I didn't even realise he left. I really don't follow it.
No.
Was the new guy bad?
Well, what's happened is that the last time we went to the World Cup, we had Warren Gatland. He got us to the World Cup for the to the third place playoff for the second time in his time as coaching Wales in World Cups. And we've been playing terrible for the last year and a half since he left and the new manager came in. And now the deal has been that they've got rid of the manager, brought Warren Gatland back into that role, and he is contracted basically just to get Wales through the World Cup. But what's good, what the other guy was doing was just putting different people in all the time. Warren Gatland will look at a team. If he thinks they're playing well, he'll try them again. If he doesn't think certain people are playing well, he will take them off and give other younger people a chance.
You've got to be a little bit, you've got to be quite brutal in terms of who you let play. You can't just let people play because they want to or because they're good most of the time.
It's like the friendlies that are happening at the moment are about finding who is fit to play in the World Cup.
Mm.
And they only played their first friendly against us on Saturday, and then they announced the exact team they're taking to the World Cup. Monday just gone.
I mean, they did really well in there. Was it a friendly against England?
Yeah. So, but Warren Gatland the TV was saying to him, "Are you going to go away on Monday? Are you going to come up with a list of players, or is it too soon for you?" And he said, I probably need to. He said, I really don't know. He said, the way I probably would look at it is maybe I need to see how we play at Twickenham away from home before I can make that decision. But he said, I might do it on Monday. I might leave it till after the game at Twickenham next weekend. Yeah. And he said, I reckon after the next game, I might be able to pick the team. But he hasn't announced, so I think he's waiting for this game tomorrow before he can make a decision.
Yeah, he's probably cut down from whatever mode they had.
But whatever he's done now, Wales have just thrashed England last weekend, so that's where.
Are they playing again this weekend?
Yes.
So, okay, that'd be interesting. Are you going to do a podcast for the World Cup or lead up to the World Cup? Or
we are hoping at some point to get a special guest from Pembrokeshire who used to be an ex-Scarlets player to come in and tell us about him, how he got involved in rugby and a project he's got going on at the moment.
Very exciting.
So thank you for listening to us today. We hope you enjoy this. And the producer decided he wanted to put the fan on and has
there was a little
we
cut
just
we didn't
brought
notice.
we just brought the sound of the fan to you. So we're all going to say goodbye and we'll see you in the next podcast. So it's goodbye from me, James Tyler.
It's a goodbye from Sam Hall.
Goodbye from me, the producer.
And goodbye from me, Martin, from Mencap.
Yeah.